What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JP on the keys, and it's too easy. We're back with a video today, and we have another installment in Napoleonic Wars series. Napoleon smashes Prussia, Jena of 1806. Before we get to this video, leave a like if you enjoyed. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you are new. We are really close to 4,000 subscribers, so hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell also, so you can be notified every time I drop a video, because I drop videos all the freaking time. Oh, wow, I was really anticlimactic. I was really trying to
An Epic History TV History March collaboration, supported by our sponsor, The Great Courses Plus. In December 1805, at the Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of the French, won a crushing victory against the joint forces of Austria and Russia. Napoleon now dominated Europe, able to hand out spoils as he saw fit. In February 1806, he sent an army led by Marshal Massena to overthrow the King of Naples, who had dared to side with his enemies, and gave his throne to his own brother Joseph instead.
He said, I'm gonna let my brothers eat. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let my family eat. I'm gonna give you a throne. 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 It's like let me stop. But you know what I'm saying? I like how he looked out for his family though. He's a really humble dude though. And all of his conquering, very humble.
Another brother, Louis, was made King of Holland. His German allies, Bavaria and Württemberg, were elevated to the status of kingdoms, while Napoleon made himself protector of the Confederation of the Rhine, a new alliance of German states that would contribute 60,000 troops to his army. In recognition of the new reality, Emperor Francis of Austria formally dissolved the Holy Roman Empire, founded by Charlemagne 1,000 years before, but now without influence or purpose. Austria had been humiliated. France remained at war with Britain, Sweden and Russia. But in the summer of 1806, all eyes were on Prussia.
Napoleon is a monster who has emerged from the mire. I mean, definitely there's a lot of different opinions, but this is a man who was leading a cause, though. I guess he felt as if he needed to eliminate the other nations around him, and now you're just a stepping stone now. You know what I'm saying? Prussia's just a stepping stone.
The Prussian king, Frederick William III, regarded Napoleon with deep mistrust and had been about to join the coalition against him when news arrived of its disastrous defeat at Austerlitz. He was heavily influenced by his wife, the celebrated and popular Queen Louise, who detested France and Napoleon. She led the influential War Party at the Prussian court. Matters came to a head over Hanover, a German state which had belonged to British King George III, been occupied by the French, and given by Napoleon to Prussia as compensation for other territorial changes. Now the Prussians learned that Napoleon had secretly offered to give Hanover back to Britain in exchange for peace. Frederick's advisors now persuaded him that war was the only honorable course.
Yo, that's smart though. You basically give them land to eliminate an enemy. That's a smart move. You get peace, and now you've eliminated a whole enemy to right above you. Like, that's so smart. That's so smart.
But Prussia then made a basic strategic blunder, sending an ultimatum to Napoleon without consulting its new allies in the Fourth Coalition. Their forces were too far away to help Prussia, who would now face Napoleon's Grande Armée with just the small state of Saxony for support.
Behind the fine facade, all was mildewed.
In 1806, the Prussian army had a fearsome reputation that dated back 50 years to the reign of Frederick the Great. Napoleon, a student of history, regarded it with respect. But Prussia's army had been allowed to rest on its laurels. Its generals were old, its staff work hindered by bureaucracy and personal rivalries, its movements ponderous and predictable. Prussian soldiers, however, could be relied on to fight with pride and determination, while Prussian cavalry was regarded as amongst the best in Europe. In October 1806, Napoleon invaded Saxony with an army of 166,000 men and 256 guns. Advancing in 3 columns, the French crossed the mountain forests of the Thüringer Wald, along roads carefully reconnoitred by scouts and spies. Napoleon intended to threaten Leipzig and force a decisive battle with the Prussian army, which he believed was near Gera. The Prussians were, in fact, further west, concentrating near Erfurt, on the west bank of the river Saale. Its commander, the Duke of Brunswick, had hoped to threaten the flank of Napoleon's advance. But wrong-footed by the speed of the French, he now ordered a retreat north to find a new defensive line. On the 10th of October, at Saalfeld, Marshal Lannes' 5 Corps clashed with a Prussian advance guard commanded by Prince Louis Frederick, the king's cousin. The Prussian force was routed, and Prince Louis himself killed in combat with a quartermaster of the French 10th Hussars. 3 days later, Lannes made contact with a large Prussian force near Jena and sent news to Napoleon.
Oh, it's Jena, it's not Gina, it's Jena, okay? Thank you for pronouncing it correctly, because I was gonna keep calling it Gina, and then somebody was gonna be in the comments like, you're pronouncing it wrong. It's Jena.
The French emperor, believing he'd found the main Prussian army, rapidly issued orders for his corps to concentrate for battle at Jena. Bernadotte's 1 Corps and Davout's 3 Corps were to cross the Saale and fall on the Prussian flank from the north. But Napoleon was wrong. Lannes faced a 35,000-strong Prussian rearguard, commanded by General Hohenlohe. The main Prussian army, 52,000 men under the Duke of Brunswick, was further north, moving straight into the path of Davout's 3 Corps. The Battle of Jena began at 6:30 a.m. on the 14th of October, in thick fog. Marshal Lannes' 5 Corps already had a toehold on the plateau west of the town and river. His first task was to drive back the Prussians and win room for the rest of the French army, arriving by the hour to deploy. His infantry led the way, and fierce fighting broke out for the villages of Cospeda, Closewitz, and Lützeroda. Meanwhile, Augereau's 7 Corps advanced through a ravine, emerging onto the plateau on Lannes' left flank, while Soult's 4 Corps climbed steep tracks to form on his right. Napoleon joined Lannes in the center of the battlefield, organizing a 25-gun battery to support the attack on Vierzehnheiligen. The village was won, but then lost to a determined Prussian counterattack. On the right, around 10 a.m., Soult's infantry secured Closewitz, but was counterattacked on its right flank near Rödigen.
No wonder, like I'm saying they were up there the whole time. I figured they would play a factor. They had been sitting up there waiting. Obviously, I guess they're waiting for the right time to like flank from behind. Because I see that's definitely the strategy now is to like flanking the army, trying to anticipate moves, like trying to be a step ahead of you so I can attack you from behind when you're not prepared. That is a solid strategy, and definitely it's being used. It's a very solid strategy, though. You know what I'm saying? You catch them off guard, element of surprise.
A decisive charge by Soult's light cavalry drove off the Prussians, routing their infantry and capturing 2 enemy colours. As 6 Corps began to arrive on the plateau, its fearless but impetuous commander, Marshal Ney, ignored orders and dived into the fighting around Vierzehnheiligen, becoming briefly cut off by a Prussian counterattack and having to be rescued by Guard cavalry.
So, he said F
General
that. He said F that.
Hohenlohe was expecting the arrival of 15,000 more troops under General Ruchel at any moment. Until then, he remained largely inactive, shoring up his line and ordering limited counterattacks. But he had run out of time. Napoleon had begun the day with just 25,000 men. By 12:30, a steady stream of reinforcements had brought his strength up to 96,000. As the Emperor rode past the Imperial Guard, one young soldier, eager to be sent into action, called out, "Forward!" Napoleon stopped and demanded to know who had spoken, then rebuked the soldier as a beardless youth who ought not to offer advice until he too had commanded in 30 battles. But
he told that boy, "You better shut your mouth." He said, "Yo, you're not even seasoned enough to be shouting orders. Boy, if you don't sit down." He called you a beardless youth. A beardless youth. He called you like you a young blood. You a young blood. You're not even built for this type of. You're not built for this type of stress, bro. Oh my God. He's straight on, dude.
But the moment had arrived. Although the Guard, to its frustration, remained in reserve, the other French corps were ordered forward in a general attack. The Prussian army began to give ground. At first it kept its discipline, but then disintegrated into a general rout. Murat's cavalry were launched in pursuit, riding down and sabring hundreds of fleeing Prussians. General Ruchel's 2 divisions finally arrived at the worst possible moment. They briefly held up 5 Corps' advance, but were soon outflanked, broken up by cannon fire, and charged down by French cuirassiers. Meanwhile, 12 miles to the north, near Auerstadt, Marshal Davout was marching southwest, expecting to fall on the Prussian left wing at Jena. Instead, he encountered the Duke of Brunswick's main Prussian army, heading north to take up new positions. Davout's 3 Corps, 27,000 men and 48 guns, was about to face odds of 2-1. While Bernadotte's 1 Corps, which had orders to support Davout, was nowhere to be seen. Davout, nicknamed the Iron Marshal, showed no signs of alarm. He formed his 1st Division into a defensive line centered on the village of Hassenhausen, his infantry forming squares to repel a series of cavalry charges by General Blücher's advance guard. His other 2 infantry divisions arrived to strengthen the line, standing firm in the face of repeated Prussian attacks.
Hold that line, bro.
But Prussian movements were slow and poorly coordinated, nor did they use their numerical advantage to try and outflank Davout. At a crucial moment, the Duke of Brunswick was shot through the eyes, a wound that proved fatal.
But my thing is, like, how do these generals keep making so many mistakes? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like all these generals are making mistakes that just happen to fall in Napoleon's favor. Like, oh, this dude, they came at the wrong time. It was a miscommunication between the general and this troop. So this troop arrived later than usual, or this and that. Like, these generals are making a lot of mistakes. I'm not saying Napoleon benefit. I'm not saying that was a way Napoleon benefited. I'm saying that these generals are making a lot of crucial mistakes. You know, they definitely did not impede the progress of Napoleon at all with all these mistakes they're making.
King Frederick William himself took command. Several Prussian units remained uncommitted, but the king, convinced he faced the main French army under Napoleon, dithered. Around 12:15, Marshal Davout counterattacked. The Prussian army turned and fled. Davout had won a stunning victory against the odds, but at a heavy price. His corps suffered 25% casualties, 1 man in 4 killed or wounded, while inflicting twice as many losses on the Prussians. When news reached Napoleon that Marshal Davout had engaged and defeated the main Prussian army, he reacted first with disbelief, then heaped praise upon the Iron Marshal, later awarding him the title Duke of Auerstadt. Marshal Bernadotte, in contrast, was nearly court-martialed for failing to support Davout. Napoleon's army began a masterful pursuit of the beaten Prussians, giving them no time to regather their strength. 2 weeks after the twin battles of Jena, Auerstadt, Napoleon's troops, led by Davout's heroic III Corps, entered Berlin. The next day, General Hohenlohe surrendered at Prenzlau. At Lübeck, General Blücher and 20,000 Prussians were driven out of the city in heavy fighting and forced to surrender, while 25,000 Prussians besieged at Magdeburg surrendered to Marshal Ney. Prussia's army had been devastated by a Napoleonic blitzkrieg. In just 33 days, Prussia had lost 20,000 dead, 140,000 prisoners, 800 guns, and 250 standards.
They were.
It was a humiliation that proud Prussians like General Blücher would neither forget nor forgive. Unlike Saxony, King Frederick William refused to make peace with Napoleon. He continued to hold out in East Prussia, trusting in the approaching Russian armies to rescue his kingdom. Despite another glorious victory for Napoleon and the Grande Armée, the war was not won yet. Napoleon Bonaparte was one of the greatest military commanders of all time.
So definitely his crazy thing. His marshal actually won a battle against the main force on his own. That's amazing. Like I said, I tried to do a little bit less interjecting in this episode. I just wanted to listen to this episode, but definitely this man Napoleon definitely has some heavy hitters on his team. You got the marshal beat the main army of Prussia, like he was outnumbered 2-1 and still won. This man is hey, he's really got some heavy hitters on his team. It's gonna be he's hard to beat. He's hard to beat, definitely. He's really hard to beat. But definitely, thank you again for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Don't forget to share the video wherever you share videos at. Also, don't forget to turn on the post notifications so that you do not miss an upload. Please be safe during this quarantine. Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.